welcome to the Empowered Woman Web Show. I'm your host, Casey Lightbody, and my guest today is an amazing woman. She's an Amazon best-selling author who's launched over 40 books. She's been featured on CNN, Entrepreneur.com, Fox News, and she's even been flown to LA to be featured as a cover story for Women's World magazine. She's an entrepreneurial rock star, having launched over 30 information products. She's bought and sold several businesses, and she's known as a super affiliate, having made over $10,000 a month with affiliate marketing. I invited her on the show today because she's one of the most inspiring women that I know. She's a self-proclaimed INFJ. She's really softly spoken, but she's dynamic, decisive, and really determined. And most importantly, in her words, she cares deeply for people, and every cell in her being just wants to do everything she can to make this world a better place. She's a perfect match for our community here at Empowered Woman Revolution. And I'm honored to welcome Rachel Rafay to the show. Welcome, Rachel.
Thank you so much, and thank you for those kind words too.
It's my pleasure. So I'd like to go right back to the start of your journey, Rachel, if that's okay, and really understand when you became an entrepreneur and why.
Yeah, so I've always done little entrepreneurial things. Even when I was little, I used to have this little business where I would go to stores and they would give me flyers, like 1,000 flyers, and I would staple them together and stand at a grocery store and give out the flyers, like the packs, just kind of advertise it. So I've always done that, the lemonade stands, all of it. But I was working in retail before I became into internet marketing full time. Mm-hmm. And basically I was just retail management, working all the time. And I came across one of those ebooks, like make $1 million in your underwear while you're sleeping, that kind of thing. And I bought it, and the premise was promote this book, you'll make an affiliate commission, and then you'll just make money that way. And so I did it. I was making between $500 to $800 a day from my very first day, which is insane. And it kind of just gave me the freedom to quit the job that I was in, because at the time when I quit, I was 23, and I was at Target, and I was making $55,000 a year, which I thought was just so much, which is still respectable income for sure, mm-hmm. But just knowing that I didn't have to be cemented into that for the rest of my life, because I thought I'd never be able to earn more anywhere else, was great. So yeah, that was pretty much the beginning. After I was making it consistently for a while, I decided to quit and just go into everything full time.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And so now, I know, having worked with you before, is that you've got some amazing products out there, but what does it really mean to you to be a business owner and entrepreneur now? Having left corporate and taken the plunge into entrepreneurship, it's be interesting to hear what you have to say about that.
What it means to be a business owner and entrepreneur. Well, I guess there's so much to say around that. So, there's from the perspective of just providing tons of value. That was the first thing that I thought of when you said that. When I think business owner now, I also think creating more stability. So instead of like an entrepreneur mindset where I was before, where it was kind of like feast and famine and go with everything, I think about how to plan things for long-term consistency. And just, I guess, putting the best into the world that I can constantly through the platform that I've created.
That's brilliant. Yeah, that's it. It's really making an impact because, in today's world, you have got the global reach because of the internet and things like that, is that you can make such a massive difference just by being able to reach people around the world, really. I've definitely found that, and I think also having the freedom, like you said, being tied down to a corporate job where you were working for Target and with a set salary every month, it's kind of the freedom that entrepreneurship allows you. And I know you travel around America and the world, and it's just, I guess, the freedom that entrepreneurship allows you to have as well, right?
Oh yeah, I was just saying to somebody else, like the idea of somebody like having to tell me if I can have a day off or not, like me having to ask, can I have a day off in my life? I don't think so. Just preposterous to me at this point.
Absolutely. It's fantastic that you can kind of call your own hours and work around, well, for me, kids and things like that. It just means the world that I can get to attend all their events and not have to worry that I'm missing out on anything and that kind of thing. So that's amazing. So I guess, we know what a journey it is. I've certainly been on a roller coaster ride for the last 3 years, but it's a real journey, entrepreneurship. And I'd like to kind of understand one of your, and I know you've been through a lot. I've listened to one of your podcasts recently where you've, had some major challenges, but I just want to have, be able to share with the audience, Rachel, of kind of one of your biggest challenges that's really got in the way, and that's an obstacle that you've overcome in your journey as an entrepreneur. Can you kind of list one of the, kind of one major one that really stands out?
So one of the first ones that popped to my mind when you were asking me is I remember a couple of years ago, I was just driving cross country, just kind of exploring, kind of as you have in the past, I know. And at the time, it had been after the whole affiliate thing that I had been doing, and my income was really inconsistent. And a lot of times I was just sleeping in Walmart parking lots and just doing whatever I could. And I remember I went to San Francisco for a business event, and I was talking with my friend there, and we went to a Starbucks, and we had been partners, and we were doing some copywriting together. But I just remember sitting at a chair at Starbucks and just bawling and being like, I can't take it, because my income was so all over the place. And it was just so hard because I never knew where any money was going to be coming from. Sometimes it'd be great, sometimes it wouldn't. So how I overcame that, I mean, there's a couple different ways. First of all, like just to focus on long-term passive income. So I was creating membership sites. I was doing a lot of Kindle books and doing things that would just create income over and over. And then the other thing was also just getting smarter with budgeting, which is something that, in the entrepreneurial world, it's so easy. People say all the time, I just podcasted about this, but they just say, if you want more, you make more. If you have the vision, you want something, don't hold yourself back, blah, 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 blah. And while I thought into it for a long time, I don't anymore. I really don't. I mean, I just think that so many people just act because we're pulled to do things emotionally. There will be like a scarcity, which usually never ends up being real scarcity, and all these different things. And I think just making decisions based on if something's working with the current goals that I have in line right now, if it works with the current business model that I'm working on, and I can see a return on investment for it, I think I just make more educated decisions now on finances.
Fantastic, Rachel. And I guess that comes with experience. You've got to kind of learn. Have you learnt lessons the hard way that way? Is that kind of how you've done it, or how have you come to that conclusion? I guess.
Because I was making crazy amounts of money and I was still in debt. I mean, like $1 million businesses and all this stuff, and still being in debt. And it's just like, that's crazy. And it's just, for a while, I was making a lot of emotional decisions just based on what felt good and stuff, because especially in the women's entrepreneurial world, that's how a lot of it is like sold to, it's do what feels good, do what you deserve, it's what you're worth, all that kind of stuff. And then there's just the stuff, like I will never forget, I remember reading someone's sales page. It was for like a spiritual business something, and it was like, if you're reading this price and if you feel a little bit like you want to throw up right now, you're in the perfect position. This is exactly why you want to buy. You need to have that little bit of discomfort. And I'm just like, come on, dude. Yeah, so I think making bad decisions, falling for things like that, made me just get some real reality. And then just mostly it was just like I said, just making so much money and then realizing at the end of the day that I was still in debt. It's just crazy.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. That's such a good point, because you're right. We're so sucked in as women, I think, to kind of, do what comes, live your purpose and do what comes best to you, and live your passion, and really. You need to have that, but you've also got to have a business head on your shoulders as well, and really understand the kind of, your profit and loss, and what's a return on investment. In fact, you and Don really taught me that with some programs that I've done with you in the past as well. It's like, okay, what measure, what's in, what's out, and then really understand whether it's worth going for it or not. So.
Yeah, well, thank you for saying that. And yeah, I totally agree. I started writing an article on this. I haven't published it yet, but just about like differentiating between your head and your heart, because I think a lot of last year I was just very much going on feelings all the time. What did I feel in the moment? How did this make me feel? Good, bad, whatever. But the thing is, especially like as women, we're super emotional. In 1 minute we could be feeling great about something. A day later it could be the worst thing in the world. And so like just having that logic to just kind of counter counterbalance off of, I think is super helpful.
That's right. And I think, and I think what's also hard as women is that we really want to serve and we really want to help people, and so I think that's where it's also quite difficult, is that, you can't help everyone, and you've really got to fine tune who it is that you can actually really help and where you can really add value. And I think that's really important as women too, is that recognition of that fact as well.
Absolutely.
Rachel, I want to go back as well. You also said that you kind of, another way that a lesson that you learned in that, when you're overcoming those obstacles of the kind of income flow that was up and down and that kind of thing, is that you looked at passive income streams. And now, again, that's another lesson that I've learned from you, is that really looking at what you can do to bring in regular income on an ongoing basis. So, I'm just interested in what products you put out there and how you made those decisions about, getting involved in Kindle, for example, or getting involved in membership sites, or, how did you recognize where to go and the route to follow?
So, I mean, I guess there were different things for different answers for different models. So, for the Kindle, for example, how I got started with that was just I had a business partner at the time who we had both just kind of randomly experimented with different niche sites, and mine was in meditation, his was in stress. And we were just talking about how neither of us had done enough with the different sites that we were playing around with. And so we made a bet with each other to see who could make more money with their niche site. And basically, the winner was going to get $1,000 Amazon gift card from the other person. And so I was just getting super competitive, throwing mud at the wall, basically, or spaghetti at the wall. And I just put up a book on Kindle. And it ended up by month 2 was making $3,000 a month, which was just nuts. At the time, it was a different Kindle landscape. It was very, very easy to make really quick money with it. So anyway, so I saw that it worked, and then I just kind of created an assembly line with just getting more and more quality books. So that was that, and it was just, I love the idea of having consistent income. When I did the membership site, I had a couple different ones. One of them was I had lost 100 pounds using something called calorie cycling. And so at the time I thought, how can I make this into a membership site instead of a product? And so I've since sold that company, but I just made it a membership site by explaining what I did. But then I thought, how can I make this ongoing? So we had calculators where people could put in the calories they were eating every day. We had ongoing journals, we had forums, we had different nutrition experts come in and give support and stuff, and just did things for people to want to stay for a long term. And so it was just kind of like, what can I do that would add value every month to make people really like it and want to keep staying? Does that answer your question?
That's fantastic, and it just it makes me laugh, is that how entrepreneurial you really are, is that you see opportunity in every kind of experience and things. And I think that's really important, is that to really be open to what's out there. I hear so many women like, oh, I want to do something but I just don't know what to do, and you've just kind of laid out 2 perfect examples of that, is that just look for opportunity in your everyday life and make it fun.
Thank you. Yeah.
I love it. So I guess you're really successful now, and you've been a super affiliate, you've got an Amazon best-selling author, and I guess I'd like to really understand. For me, I had like an aha moment that really it was a time that I was coaching a woman, and in my business, in my coaching business, and she burst into tears, and for me it was like, oh my goodness, I can't believe that I've made such an impact on one person, and if I can do that for just one other person, that makes my work so worthwhile. And so I just kind of wanted to, with you, you've had so much experience in all different aspects of business. Do you have kind of a light bulb moment, like a real aha moment, where you felt like this is why you're doing what you're doing?
Yeah, so I guess I have 2 different answers, actually, because as we were talking about, I kind of separate the practical, like the teaching stuff, and then my passion stuff. And so 2 different things popped to mind. So for the passion stuff, I just love to do all kinds of things that make the world a better place. Not that the practical doesn't, but I love just, on Facebook, I would go and I would post all the time about random things that I would do to just try and make the world better and everything. And anyway, so the moment for the passion side was I got a message from somebody on Facebook. It was probably I don't know, maybe a year ago now, maybe a little long, I don't remember. But he had basically written and said that he was with this girl. They were high school sweethearts for a really long time. And one day she was like in her young 20s. She was killed in a tragic car accident. And he was just so taken aback, obviously. And he just really felt like God was evil. And he said for a long time, he was just consciously doing really mean things because he just figured, why? Like, screw it all, right? So anyway, he said he kept reading my Facebook posts and it kept on giving him inspiration until one day he was on some bridge and he paid for the toll for three people behind him, which is the first like nice thing he had done in such a long time. And he said it felt like it gave him his life back and he felt so inspired and he just wrote to me and was like, just so grateful. And I just remember reading his message and he lived in like India. And I remember just reading his message and I was just bawling my eyes out. I was just like, that's unbelievable to be able to even make the slightest bit of difference for somebody and like all the way across the world is just nuts. So that was really big for me.
Wow, that is amazing.
Yeah, it was so lovely. And then for practical, I actually had one recently with I had a Kindle coaching program a while ago. And because the Kindle market had been changing, I kept on like, I don't know, I was just worried that people weren't doing as well as I would have wanted them to and all this stuff. And I didn't know. I think I was just kind of making things up in my head. But anyway, one of the STAR students wrote to me I don't know, maybe it was a couple weeks ago. And she said that her Kindle books had been doing so well that she took the money from her books and she ended up creating a tutoring center where she lives in Delaware. And she's helping all these special need kids and doing free screenings for people and all this stuff. And it's really helping her fulfill her dream. And then she's still earning like $400 a month passive, even after like the years of when she had published it before. So I was just thrilled because look at her like taking this money and making the world better because of it. I keep saying making the world better, but I guess that's the theme today.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. That's amazing. What an amazing story. That I love hearing those kind of things. It's just really inspiring. So I love it. We can all make the world a better place for sure, Even but interestingly, I just want to go back to your point, Rachel, is that you with your Kindle trainings, and you were really worried about that people weren't making as much money as that you would have liked and things like that. And I heard a little your little voice of your inner critic and your self-doubt little voice coming up and rearing its ugly head and saying that you didn't know if it was if they were getting enough out of it, and there was a little voice in your head. And I mean, that's something that I've struggled with all my life. It's a very loud one for me, and I just want to understand really, like, I see the pattern with successful women is that they all have this inner critic and they all have this self-doubt, but the women that seem to be really successful are the ones that are most successful at quietening their inner critic. And so I'd just like to talk to that point a little bit, Rachel, is that do you suffer from an inner critic still, and what are the tools and strategies that you use to quieten it?
Absolutely. I suffer from an inner critic. How do I quiet it? Well, I guess two things. Number one, especially when it comes to selling products and things, I only sell things that I know are currently working for me. And so if I feel in integrity with whatever I'm selling, then that is really going to help no matter what, because I know that if I'm getting results with this, then other people can too. And it's not like, it's not like selling theory or something. So that is number one. I can feel congruent with that. But the Kindle coaching had started after my income started like dipping. And so that's why I was a little worried. I think the second thing is honestly just connecting to my intuition, connecting to greater, what is out there. And I just connected, and I just asked, like, is this the highest thing, for the highest service that I can be doing right now? Yes or no? And if I feel like it's not, then I won't do it. And if I feel like it is, then I'll be able to quiet the fear. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. That's fantastic. So it's really kind of digging into your intuition and going with what really feels right to you at the time, right? And integrity. Yeah. I mean, integrity is so important, I think, as well. If you really believe in the product and know that it's working for you, then why shouldn't it work for everyone else as well?
Totally, totally.
Awesome. So, where to from now for Rachel Raffay? What's the vision for the company and your business and your entrepreneurial journey? I mean, you've been on such a ride already. Like, where are you going in the future?
So I am cutting off a lot of the Kindle training for reasons I've explained.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a course coming up next month. It's actually about podcasting. I've been doing a lot of podcasting lately, and I love it. And it's just about how every episode that I release ends up getting between 1,500 and 4,000 downloads, which I think is it's pretty great considering I haven't really pushed it too much. So I'm going to be teaching about that. I've been playing a lot with social media, building up followers on lots of different sites, and might be teaching about social media too. I think just continuing to teach about different traffic sources that I have going on that are working actively for me would be really fun for my practical side. And then the passion side, I have this dream to create this event where people can come and just get crazy pampered. And the dream is just to fill up stadiums of people who just get really pampered and taken care of and everything. So I'm going to be working towards that as well.
Awesome. That sounds so exciting. Well, let me know when the podcast product is out. I'd love to hear about that. It sounds awesome. So lots of exciting things on the pipeline for you, hey?
Yeah, totally.
Cool. So, Rachel, I just want to dive into our into our lightning round now, and it's really like focusing on women and women's leadership. So, I wanted to ask you, first of all, who inspires you? What woman inspires you the most, and why?
So I guess it would be a cross between either Mother Teresa or Oprah. Mother Teresa, because I feel like just her unwavering faith to what she knew was the right thing to do, I think is really amazing, and just how selfless she was. Oprah, I just love, first of all, especially lately, like she's been saying a lot of things, like kind of like, as my boyfriend would call, hokey, and being okay with it, which I love. As you know, Don will call hokey. And I just love that unapologetic hokiness. And I think she's done a lot of great things in the world. I was just reading her book called What I Know for Sure, and she was talking about how in the very beginning of her career, she had someone on the show, and I don't remember exactly what it was, but like the woman had found out that her boyfriend had cheated on her or did something that was totally not cool. And Oprah said she looked at this woman's face when she registered that whatever bad thing had happened, and she felt so bad. And she's just like, I am never going to do that kind of television again. And I just thought that was really great. Like, she just brings integrity to what she does.
Absolutely. I know. I'm a big fan of Oprah too. I love what she's about, and I love how she goes about it, and just the impact that she makes on everybody's lives is just phenomenal, So
Totally.
I totally get that. So I love it. The other thing that I wanted to ask you is kind of barriers to female leadership. So what do you think? I mean, we are progressing, and the glass ceiling is being broken down slowly and all that kind of stuff, but there's some amazing statistics. I read that, there's some statistic like 88% of new businesses are being opened by women, but only 50% of them are actually drawing a wage out of their businesses at the moment. So what do you think the barriers to female leadership are currently, Rachel?
Oh my gosh, I think there's a couple things. I do think it's getting better. I mean, as you said, when I started out, I would go to different events and everyone asked me whose virtual assistant I was. It was crazy. And I definitely think it's getting better, but I think there's a couple things. Number one, as you said, only a few people, is it 50 or 15%?
51% or something crazy like that, yeah.
So, I mean, I think a lot of us have the tendency to just give anyway, and we're used to this feeling of depletion. And when we're not coming from a place of surplus, it's hard to serve other people. And I think also there's this woman, Elisa Vitti, who teaches the Woman Code, and she talks about actually how our monthly cycles, we have different emotions throughout the month. And a lot of people don't know how to work with their own cycles. And so there's parts of our month where we're feeling really creative about things. And then there's parts of our month when we should just be focusing on logical things and all this stuff. But if you don't know how to harness all of that, you might find that you're really excited about something at one point, and then you just want to give it up a little bit later because if you don't know how to plan ahead for those things, you're a slave to your emotions. So I think that's a big thing too, is just not really having enough of a knowledge around how we actually work. Because and the other thing is just so many people. Sorry, I know this is a lightning round. I'll get
That's
up here, but
awesome. Yeah.
okay, good. So many of us, we only can identify with the masculine paradigm of just, work harder, push through. And that's not necessarily how we're supposed to work. To an extent, yes, but we also need to realize what our flow is so that we can really thrive.
Absolutely, I love that. And so, what was the resource again? It's a woman's code, did you say?
Well, her book is called The Woman Code, and it's
Okay.
by Alyssa Vitti, but she doesn't talk about the business stuff in there. I had seen a presentation where she talked about it, so I don't know if you do a Google if it'll come up, or maybe there's somewhere else that talks about it. But it's really
That's
fascinating stuff.
fascinating, absolutely fascinating. Well, I haven't heard of that before. I love it.
Yeah, it's really, really interesting, I thought.
Yeah, absolutely. And now, Rachel, as a self proclaimed INFJ, I'm also an INFJ, funnily enough. What do you think are the challenges for us introverts in business? Or women introverts in business, and how have you again overcome those challenges in your own business?
Well, I mean, I guess everything has duality. So, I mean, some of the challenges are also the strengths. But I guess one thing for sure is I know going to networking events exhausts me. And so, one of the ways that I overcome that is just I have a hotel room that's always in the actual hotel, and I'll just like go out in spurts. So I'll just go out for a little bit. Maybe I'll go to the bathroom and like just sit, like be there by myself for a few minutes if I need to recuperate. Go up to a hotel room, be by myself, get my energy back, and then go back out. So I just try to be really conscious of navigating my energy. And then also, I don't go to as many events anymore. And what other challenges? I mean, I definitely have felt like when I've gone to dinners and stuff, especially at networking events, I have friends who are more extroverted, and I feel like they're making all these great impressions, and I'm just sitting there not saying much. But I've learned to overcome that, to just have really great. I thrive in like one-on-one or very small kind of conversations. So I like to like have little break-off conversations, and I feel like I can do much better there.
Fantastic, I love that. I'm exactly the same as that. And I guess that's also important when you're thinking about developing products and programs and things like that, is that take your personality into consideration and where your real strengths are, and hone your business around that kind of business model too, right?
Totally. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, I've got two more questions. The other one is, what do you think will be the biggest challenge for the generation of women behind us? What do you think the challenge is going to come up for them?
Um, I guess it's such an instant gratification kind of society, and we're like all over the place all the time. There's so many things going on. So I think just keeping focused action, like keeping off the networks and stuff like that, like off Twitter and Facebook and all these different things. I mean, is also something I know that we're all dealing with too. Maybe, I don't know, that's the first thing that came to mind. Maybe I'd think of something better later on, but that's my
But
answer.
yeah, I love it. And just action. I know it's like, and that's an interesting point as well, is that challenges, because there's so many distractions, and I think everyone chases those shiny objects, and I think there are so many distractions, that really being focused and just taking action and strategic action is really important for the generation behind us. And you've talked to that point throughout the interview today, is that really it's just being strategic and being really focused on where you're going now is has been invaluable to your success. And I think that's a really good point for the future generations too, Rachel. I totally agree with that. So thank you. So to wrap up, I'd just like to ask you what your favorite business quote, your business success quote is. I always end the show with that. And what would you say is yours?
My greatest. Hmm. One of them I like that just kind of came to my head right now is No One Can Make You Feel Inferior Without Your Consent by Eleanor Roosevelt. And I think about that, or I'll read Our Greatest Fear by Marianne Williamson right before I do any kind of podcast interview. And I don't need to do it as much anymore, but especially in the beginning when I was nervous about doing podcasts and worried I'd sound dumb, and yada, yada, yada. It's just like reflecting back on those quotes and realizing that it's just me, like being the inner critic, and that like I forget exactly what the line is in Our Greatest Fear, but it's like, who are you not to be magnificent kind of thing. And just remembering that, like remembering I want to come in and showcase like the brilliance versus trying to get bogged down by fear, if that makes
Oh, I
sense.
love it. I love it. I've actually got I don't know it off by heart either, but I've got that quote on my website by Marianne Williamson too, and I just love that quote. It's awesome. So
So there.
that's fantastic. Rachel, you have been amazing. Thank you so much. Now, I'd love my community to find you, your podcast, and all the goodness that you've got to offer. So where can everybody find you?
So my main site is rachelrofe.com. It's just RACHELROF as in flamingo E.com. My podcast is called A Better Life. If you can either do a search A Better Life Rachel Rofe or go to rachelrofe.com/subscribe. And really Rachel Rofe is the hub for everything. It has my social media and my products and my books and my podcast and all that good stuff.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you so much for your time. It's going to be invaluable to my community, and I really, really have had an amazing time. Thank you so much.
I've enjoyed it too, so thank you so much for asking me to be here, and I love what you're creating.
Thanks, Rachel.